Today, we are diving into a prophecy that's been around for about 2,000 years. And this prophecy came with a very specific instruction. Seal it up and don't open it until a certain moment in the future. So the big question is, has that moment finally arrived? I mean, just imagine that for a second. A message locked away for centuries with a clear warning. Do not open until the time is right. Well, what if that time is now? And this right here, this is the heart of the whole mystery. It's a direct command given to the prophet Daniel. He was told point blank to seal up his vision until some future time of the end. For centuries, this has been, the ultimate locked box in Scripture. But here's where it gets really interesting. The central claim we're digging into today is a pretty bold one. That this time of the end isn't some far-off future event, it's already happened. And that the seal on that book, it's been broken. So what's the key that supposedly unlocks it all? According to our source, it's a text called the Kitáb-i-Íqán, which translates to the Book of Certitude. It was revealed back in 1862, and it's presented as the definitive guide, the Rosetta Stone, if you will, for understanding the symbolic language that's kept these prophecies a mystery for so long. So you might be wondering, where does a claim this big even come from? Well, you might be surprised. The starting point isn't some complex philosophy or deep theological debate. It actually starts with simple math, a calculation that claims to pinpoint the exact date for this time of the end. And get this, the entire calculation hangs on this one really strange phrase from the book of Daniel. A time times and a half a time. It sounds so abstract, right? But according to this interpretation, it's not a metaphor at all. It's actually a very precise measurement of time. Okay, let's break this down. It's actually pretty straightforward when you see the steps. So step 1 is the golden rule here. In biblical prophecy, 1 day equals 1 year. Got it? Okay. Step 2, we have to define a time. A biblical time is basically a 360-day year. So 1 time equals 360 prophetic years. Now for step 3, we just do the math. Daniel's phrase, a time, times, and a half a time, that's 1 time plus 2 times plus half a time. So 360 plus 720 plus 180, which equals 1,260 prophetic years. And finally, the last step is the conversion. Those 1,260 years were based on a lunar calendar. When you convert that span of time to our modern solar calendar, you land on the year 1844. So when you lay it all out, you get this incredible timeline, one that stretches from an ancient prophecy all the way to a very specific modern date. And according to this source, the year 1844 is the fulfillment of that 1260-year clock, a year that also happens to mark the beginning of the Bahá'í Faith. But look, a date is only one piece of the puzzle, right? What about all the strange visions themselves? The sun going dark, the stars falling from heaven? Well, this brings us to the second part of the key, learning how to read the symbolic language of Scripture. The whole argument here is that maybe, just maybe, we miss the point of these stories by taking them too literally. I mean, think about a really famous one, Jesus feeding thousands of people with just a few loaves and fishes. We all know the story, but was it really just about dinner? And this is where the symbolic reading comes in. And it's pretty fascinating. See, right before this miracle, Jesus delivered 7 parables, 7 little nuggets of spiritual teaching. So the source draws this direct line between the 7 items of food, 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and those 7 teachings. In this view, breaking bread isn't just a physical act of eating. It's a powerful metaphor for breaking open the hidden meaning of his words. All right, so now that we have this idea of a symbolic key, let's put it to the test. Let's see how the Book of Certitude uses this method to unlock some of the biggest and most enduring paradoxes in Scripture. We're going to look at 3 really specific examples. We're going to tackle 3 classic puzzles. First, how can any prophet be both the first and the last? Second, how can all these different prophets from different times and places actually be one and the same? And third, what does it really mean when prophecies say the sun, moon, and stars are going to fall from the sky? So first up, this whole puzzle of the last prophet. If someone like Muhammad is called the seal of the prophets, how can another prophet ever come after him? Well, the interpretation here hinges on a really powerful statement attributed to Muhammad himself. I am Adam. The idea is that each prophet is a spiritual return of the one who came before.
So the last is also, in essence, a reappearance of the first. They're one continuous reality.
And that leads us right into the next puzzle, this idea of unity. I mean, how can prophets from completely different centuries with different laws really be considered one? The source uses this beautiful metaphor. Think of them like different mirrors. The mirrors might look different, but they are all reflecting the exact same light, the same sun. So while their names change and the social laws they bring might adapt to the times, their inner spiritual reality, that core truth they reflect, is identical. They are, in fact, one soul and the same person. Okay, and now for the big one. What about all those dramatic, apocalyptic visions of the sun going dark and stars falling out of the sky? According to this symbolic key, it's got nothing to do with the literal end of the world. Instead, the sun represents the core teachings of a religion, its spiritual light. The moon symbolizes the knowledge and institutions that reflect that light. And the stars? The stars are the religious leaders, the clergy, the divines. So when the heavens fall, it's a powerful symbol that the spiritual light of that religious era has faded and its leaders have lost their way. It's the end of a spiritual age, not the end of the planet. And if you're thinking, okay, that's a neat theory, well, check this out. This interpretation is backed up by a direct quote from Bahá'u'lláh, the founder of the Bahá'í Faith. He explicitly addresses religious leaders, bishops in this case, and calls them the stars of the heaven of my knowledge, making that symbolic connection absolutely crystal clear. So let's just recap for a second. We've journeyed from a very specific date calculation to a key for decoding ancient symbols, all as part of this single cohesive framework for unlocking prophecy, as it's presented in the Book of Certitude. And that really leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? One that goes way beyond any single book or belief system. It makes you wonder, how does this kind of symbolic language shape what we believe and how we search for meaning in our own lives? It's a powerful lens to look through, for sure.